When ghosts come home, the ship that time forgot. The emergency alert screamed across every communication channel in the Sol system at exactly 14:32 Earth Standard Time. Captain Sarah Chen was reviewing supply reports aboard the UES Vigilant when her communications officer burst into her ready room without knocking, his face pale as moonlight. "Captain, you need to see this immediately," Lieutenant Rodriguez said, his voice shaking. "Long-range sensors have detected something impossible." Sarah followed him to the bridge, where the entire crew stood frozen, staring at the main display. The holographic image showed a sleek vessel approaching from the direction of Proxima Centauri, its hull gleaming with an otherworldly blue-white energy that pulsed like a heartbeat. "Computer, identify the approaching vessel," Sarah commanded. The synthetic voice responded with mechanical certainty. "Vessel identified as UES Prometheus, registry number NX7749. Status: missing, presumed destroyed. Last contact: 15 years, 7 months, 12 days ago." A chill ran down Sarah's spine. The Prometheus had been humanity's pride, the most advanced exploration ship ever built, equipped with experimental engines that could reach previously impossible speeds. Its mission had been simple: explore the dark regions between galaxies, searching for signs of ancient civilizations. The ship and its crew of 847 had vanished without a trace, becoming a ghost story whispered in the halls of Earth's Space Command. The impossible return. "That can't be right," Sarah muttered, studying the readings. "The Prometheus was declared lost with all hands. There's no way it could have survived 15 years in deep space, let alone return under its own power." Her science officer, Dr. Marcus Webb, frantically worked at his console. "Captain, the energy signature is unlike anything in our database. Whatever's powering that ship isn't human technology. The quantum resonance patterns are completely alien." The bridge fell silent except for the gentle hum of the ship's systems. Sarah felt the weight of command pressing down on her shoulders. As captain of the UES Vigilant, one of Earth's most advanced warships, she had faced pirates, hostile aliens, and natural disasters, but nothing had prepared her for this moment. "Open a channel," she ordered. The communications array crackled to life, and Sarah stepped forward. "UES Prometheus, this is Captain Sarah Chen of the UES Vigilant. Please respond. We have you on approach vector to Earth. State your status and intentions." For long seconds, only static filled the channel. Then, a voice emerged from the void, distant and strange, as if speaking through layers of reality itself. "Vigilant, this is Captain David Morrison of the Prometheus. We request immediate audience with Earth Command. We bring knowledge that will change everything." Sarah's blood froze. She knew that voice from the history files, from the memorial services held for the lost crew. Captain Morrison had been a legend, an explorer who had pushed the boundaries of human space travel further than anyone before him. But something in his voice was wrong, different, as if he were speaking from the bottom of an ocean. "The changed crew. Captain Morrison, this is incredible," Sarah said, trying to keep her voice steady. "Everyone believed you were lost. What happened to you out there? Where have you been for 15 years? The response came after another long pause. "Time. Time moves differently in the space between spaces, Captain Chen. We discovered something ancient, something that has been waiting in the dark for millions of years. We are no longer the same crew that left Earth." Dr. Webb looked up from his console, his eyes wide with alarm. "Captain, I'm detecting massive energy fluctuations from their ship. Whatever's powering it is beyond our current understanding of physics. The quantum field distortions alone should have torn the vessel apart." Sarah made a decision that would change the course of human history. "Prometheus, this is Vigilant. You are cleared to dock with our ship for inspection and debriefing. Reduce speed to docking velocity and prepare for boarding." "Negative, Vigilant," came Morrison's voice, now tinged with something that might have been sadness. "We cannot risk contamination until Earth Command has been briefed. What we carry aboard this ship could either elevate humanity to godhood or destroy every living thing in the galaxy. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Sarah felt her crew shift nervously around her. In her 20 years of space service, she had never heard anything so terrifying and promising at the same time. The alien technology. As the Prometheus drew closer, the vigilance sensors began picking up more detailed readings. The ship's hull had been transformed, covered in crystalline growths that pulsed with living light. Strange geometric patterns covered its surface, patterns that hurt to look at directly, as if they existed in more dimensions than human eyes could process. "Captain," reported Chief Engineer Lisa Park over the intercom, "the Prometheus is generating a field that's interfering with our systems. Our computers are trying to process data that doesn't make sense. It's like the ship is broadcasting information in a language our technology doesn't understand." Sarah ordered all non-essential systems shut down as a precaution. "Prometheus, we're seeing some unusual effects from your vessel. Can you explain the nature of the technology you've encountered?" Captain Morrison's response chilled everyone on the bridge. "We found them, Captain Chen. The architects. The ones who seeded the galaxy with life billions of years ago. They left behind archives, consciousness storage systems that preserve not just knowledge but entire civilizations. The crew of the Prometheus. We have become something more than human." Dr. Webb's hands trembled as he worked. "Captain, if what he's saying is true, if they've made contact with an ancient alien civilization, the implications are staggering. Such technology could revolutionize medicine, extend human life indefinitely, give us the power to reshape reality itself." But Sarah felt a growing unease. "And the cost, Dr. Webb? What would be the cost of such power?" The first warning. As if he had heard her question across the void, Captain Morrison's voice returned, heavy with the weight of terrible knowledge. "The cost, Captain Chen, is humanity itself. The knowledge we carry could transform our species, but transformation and destruction are often the same thing. We have seen what happens to civilizations that embrace this power without wisdom." The Prometheus continued its approach, and with each passing hour, more strange phenomena manifested around both ships. Electronics began displaying impossible readings. Crew members reported vivid dreams of vast alien cities, and the very space around them seemed to shimmer with barely contained energy. Sarah called an emergency meeting with her senior officers. In the conference room, the gravity of their situation became clear. They were not just dealing with a lost ship returning home. They were potentially facing the most significant moment in human history. "Recommendations?" Sarah asked, looking around the table at her trusted team. Lieutenant Commander Hayes, her tactical officer, spoke first. "Captain, we need to assume this could be a threat. Whatever happened to the Prometheus crew, they're no longer fully human. We should maintain defensive readiness." Dr. Webb disagreed. "With respect, Commander, this could be the greatest opportunity humanity has ever encountered. If the Prometheus crew has truly made contact with ancient alien technology, we could solve every problem facing our species. Disease, aging, resource scarcity, even death itself." Chief Engineer Park raised a concern that sent chills through everyone present. "What if the technology doesn't just change us? What if it replaces us? We could lose everything that makes us human in the pursuit of becoming something greater." The choice approaches. As the meeting continued, reports began flooding in from Earth. Other ships were detecting strange signals from the direction of the Prometheus, signals that seemed to be activating dormant alien artifacts scattered throughout human space. Ancient ruins on distant worlds were lighting up for the first time in millennia, and alien technology buried on Earth itself was beginning to respond to some unknown call. Sarah realized that the return of the Prometheus was not an isolated event. It was the beginning of something much larger, something that would force humanity to confront its place in a universe far more complex and dangerous than they had ever imagined. "Captain Morrison," she called over the communication channel, "we're detecting activation of alien technology throughout human space. Is this connected to your return? His response confirmed her worst fears. Yes, Captain Chen. The archives we discovered are networked across the galaxy. Our return has awakened systems that have slept for millions of years. Other species are becoming aware of what we found. Some will want to destroy the knowledge to keep it from spreading. Others will want to take it for themselves. Sarah looked out at the stars, knowing that somewhere in the darkness, alien civilizations were already responding to the signals emanating from human space. The quiet peace that humanity had enjoyed was about to end, replaced by a struggle that would determine not just their survival, but their very identity as a species. The Prometheus continued its approach to Earth, carrying within its transformed hull the seeds of humanity's greatest triumph or their ultimate destruction. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the Vigilant, knowing that the decisions made in the coming hours would echo through history for generations to come. The ghost ship had returned, but what it brought with it would test everything humanity believed about themselves and their place among the stars. What lurks in the dark between stars? The boarding. 3 days after the initial contact, Captain Sarah Chen stood in the docking bay of the UES Vigilant, wearing full environmental protection gear and accompanied by her most trusted officers. The Prometheus had finally agreed to allow a small boarding party, but only after Earth Command had been briefed on the situation through encrypted quantum channels. The docking tube extended between the two ships with mechanical precision, but as it connected to the Prometheus, strange harmonics vibrated through the hull of the Vigilant. The sound was almost musical, like the singing of crystalline structures under stress, and it made everyone's teeth ache. Remember, Sarah addressed her team, we don't know what we're walking into. The crew of the Prometheus may look human, but they've been changed by 15 years of exposure to alien technology. Stay alert, record everything, and if I give the order to evacuate, you move fast. Dr. Webb carried specialized scanning equipment, while Chief Engineer Park brought tools designed to analyze unknown technology. Lieutenant Commander Hayes wore full combat armor and carried weapons that could, theoretically, handle any threat they might encounter. The airlock cycled, and the boarding party stepped into the Prometheus for the first time in 15 years. The transformed ship. What they found defied every expectation. The corridors of the Prometheus had been transformed into something that existed at the intersection of technology and biology. The walls pulsed with veins of blue-white energy, and crystalline growths extended from every surface like frozen lightning. The air itself seemed alive, shimmering with particles that moved in patterns too complex for human minds to fully comprehend. "My God," whispered Dr. Webb, his instruments recording readings that broke several known laws of physics. The entire ship has been integrated with some kind of living technology. It's not just powered by alien systems, it's become part of an alien organism. They moved deeper into the ship, following corridors that seemed to shift and change around them. The familiar layout of the Prometheus had been altered, expanded in ways that shouldn't have been possible within the original hull structure. Rooms opened into spaces larger than the ship itself, defying basic geometry. Captain Morrison met them in what had once been the main conference room, but was now a chamber filled with floating crystalline structures that hummed with information. He looked human at first glance, but his eyes held depths that seemed to contain entire galaxies, and his skin had a subtle luminescence that pulsed in rhythm with the ship around him. "Captain Chen," he said, his voice carrying harmonics that resonated in their bones, "welcome aboard the Prometheus. I apologize for the modifications. The integration process is ongoing." The revelation. Morrison led them to the ship's central archive, a vast chamber that couldn't possibly exist within the physical confines of the vessel. Here, towering structures of living crystal contained the compressed knowledge of an entire civilization, the architects who had seeded the galaxy with life over 3 billion years ago. "They were like us once," Morrison explained, his hand resting on one of the crystal formations, curious, ambitious, determined to explore and understand the universe. But they discovered that consciousness is not limited to biological forms. They learned to preserve themselves in crystalline matrices, becoming eternal libraries of knowledge and experience. Dr. Webb approached one of the smaller crystals, his scanners going wild with readings. Captain Morrison, the energy contained in this single structure could power Earth for 1,000 years. The technological applications alone could revolutionize human civilization. But Morrison's expression darkened. Yes, Dr. Webb. And that's exactly the trap. The architects offered us everything we ever dreamed of. Unlimited energy, perfect health, immortality, the power to reshape matter at the quantum level. In exchange, all we had to do was allow ourselves to be improved. Sarah studied Morrison's face, seeing the conflict there. You accepted their offer. Not all of us, Morrison replied. The crew was divided. Some embraced the transformation completely, becoming something beyond human understanding. Others resisted, maintaining their humanity while gaining access to the archives. And some, his voice trailed off, heavy with grief. The price of knowledge. Chief Engineer Park had been examining the ship's systems, and her report was disturbing. Captain, this vessel is no longer operating on any principles of engineering we understand. The power source appears to be drawing energy directly from the quantum vacuum, and the ship's structure exists in a state of controlled dimensional flux. It's beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Morrison nodded grimly. The architect's technology doesn't just change how we do things, it changes what we are. My crew members who fully embraced the transformation, they still exist, but they are no longer individuals in any sense we would recognize. They have become part of the collective consciousness stored in the archives. He led them to an observation deck where they could see Earth growing larger in the viewport. The blue marble of humanity's homeworld looked fragile and precious against the star-filled darkness. The knowledge we carry could solve every problem humanity faces, Morrison continued. Hunger, disease, aging, death itself could become things of the past. But the cost is our humanity, our individuality, our very souls. The architects learned too late that some prices are too high to pay. The gathering storm. As they spoke, alarms began sounding throughout both ships. Lieutenant Rodriguez's voice crackled over the communication system. Captain Chen, we're detecting multiple ships approaching our position. They're not human designs. Sarah and her team rushed to the bridge, where the tactical display showed a dozen alien vessels converging on their location from different directions. Some were sleek and elegant, others were massive and brutal in design, but all of them were clearly advanced beyond current human technology. The Keepers, Morrison said quietly. They've come to reclaim the archives. The architect's knowledge was never meant to spread beyond their chosen inheritors. The Keepers are the guardians they left behind to ensure that civilizations don't advance too quickly. The lead alien vessel transmitted a message in perfect English. Humans of the vessel Prometheus, you have violated the containment protocols. The archive will be recovered, and your species will be evaluated for termination or memory adjustment. Prepare for boarding. Sarah felt the weight of command pressing down on her like the gravity of a collapsing star. Humanity stood at a crossroads that would determine their future among the stars. They could surrender the archives and return to their previous existence, accept the transformation and risk losing their humanity, or fight for the right to choose their own destiny. The human choice. Captain Morrison. Sarah said, her voice steady despite the magnitude of the moment. Can the Prometheus fight these ships? Morrison's transformed crew had gathered on the bridge, their eyes glowing with the light of the archives. With the architect's technology, we could destroy entire fleets. We could become gods among the stars, reshaping reality according to our will. But at what cost? Dr. Webb stepped forward, his scientific mind racing with possibilities. There has to be another way. We're humans. We've always found solutions that others considered impossible. Maybe we can use this technology without losing ourselves to it. Chief Engineer Park was already working at a console, her fingers dancing over controls that seemed to respond to her thoughts. Captain, I think I understand what they've done here. The technology doesn't have to consume us. We can create interfaces, buffers that allow us to access the power while maintaining our essential humanity. The alien ships were closing in, weapons systems charging. Sarah made the decision that would define humanity's future. Morrison, I'm assuming joint command of this operation. We're not going to surrender the archives, and we're not going to lose our humanity to them. We're going to find a third option, because that's what humans do best. The battle for humanity's soul. The space battle that followed would be remembered as the moment humanity truly stepped onto the galactic stage. The Prometheus, powered by technologies beyond current understanding, faced off against the Keeper's fleet in a contest that was as much about philosophy as firepower. The human ships fought not just with weapons, but with something the aliens hadn't expected: creativity, unpredictability, and the stubborn refusal to accept that their only choices were submission or transformation. They used the architect's technology in ways its creators had never imagined, creating new forms of defense and attack that honored both human ingenuity and alien knowledge. In the end, it wasn't superior firepower that won the day, but humanity's greatest strength: their ability to adapt, to change, and to remain essentially themselves while embracing new possibilities. They proved to the Keepers that a species could grow beyond its origins without losing its soul. The archives remained with humanity, but under careful guard and study. The crew of the Prometheus chose to remain partially transformed, serving as bridges between human and alien understanding. They became teachers and guardians, helping their species navigate the dangerous waters of advanced technology, while holding fast to the values that made them human. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the Vigilant, watching as the first human ships equipped with carefully adapted architect technology began their journey to the stars. Humanity had faced the ultimate test and emerged not as gods or slaves, but as something new, a species that could embrace the infinite while never forgetting what it meant to be human. The lost ship had returned, bringing with it not just forbidden knowledge, but the opportunity for humanity to define its own destiny among the stars. The greatest adventure was just beginning.